Um, have you ever had one of those moments where your finger is just, hovering right over the send button?
Oh, yeah.
You know the exact feeling I'm talking about.
Eh.
The heart rate is up, the adrenaline is pumping, someone's sending you a nasty email
Or
or...
a passive-aggressive comment on a project you worked really hard on.
Right, exactly. And your blood is just absolutely boiling.
You have the impulse to just incinerate the bridge right then and there.
Yes. You have
Yeah.
the perfect comeback loaded in the chamber. It's witty. It's devastating.
Yeah.
It completely destroys their argument and probably their ego, too.
Mm-hmm.
But then you freeze. You just hold it there.
You hesitate.
You hesitate.
And usually, honestly, that split-second hesitation is the only thing protecting your career or your reputation or even your relationship from a total meltdown.
It's such a universal tension, isn't it? We spend so much time worrying about people attacking us.
The external enemies.
Right. The external enemies, bad luck, the economy, whatever. But today, we're doing a deep dive into a text that suggests the most dangerous threat isn't out there.
No, it's not.
It's actually inside us.
It's the classic, the Paul is coming from inside the house scenario.
Huh, exactly. We're looking at Psalm 141 today. And what struck me immediately in the reading is the author. This is King David,
The warrior.
the guy who killed Goliath. So when I see a Psalm of David, I expect a battle map. I expect military strategy. But this isn't about fighting armies, is it?
No, not at all. And I think that's the big takeaway right up front. Psalm 141 is essentially a manual for internal discipline.
Written by a guy who usually solved his problems with a sword.
Right. It's all about self-mastery. The source material we have actually describes it as a prayer for integrity in a hostile environment.
Which feels incredibly relevant to us today. I mean,
Right.
we might not be dodging literal spears. Well, most of us aren't. But navigating a toxic corporate culture, a tense family dynamic, or even just your standard hostile social media feed.
It requires the exact same kind of discipline, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about how you walk through a minefield without setting off the explosives yourself. It's about not becoming the thing you're fighting against.
So let's get right into the text. The psalm opens with a lot of adrenaline. Verse 1 says, "Lord, I cry unto thee. Make haste unto me. Give ear unto my voice when I cry unto thee."
Yeah, make haste.
That's panic mode, right?
Oh.
That's not a calm, peaceful meditation.
Doug is panic mode. He's in distress. He needs help immediately. But what's so fascinating is where he goes next with that energy.
Because usually when we panic, we scramble, we get chaotic.
He starts shouting orders or making snap decisions.
All right.
But look at verse 2. The tone shifts instantly from this panic urgency to ritual.
Yeah, the imagery here is really specific and frankly quite beautiful.
Yeah.
Let my prayer be set forth before thee as incense, and the lifting up of my hands is the evening sacrifice.
Beautiful imagery.
I want to pause on evening sacrifice, though. Why specifically evening? Is that just him using poetic license?
Actually, no, it's very technical, and understanding this completely unlocks the whole mindset of the song.
Okay, lay it out for us.
So in the ancient Jewish temple system, there was a morning sacrifice and an evening sacrifice. It was the rhythm of the day. They called it the Tamid. It happened like absolute clockwork.
Just a constant rhythm.
Exactly. But here's the critical context for this text. David isn't in the temple when he writes this.
Oh, right.
He's likely out in the wilderness, maybe hiding in a cave, actively running for his life. He can't get to the altar. He can't smell the incense.
So he's just improvising.
He's internalizing it. He's saying, I can't do the physical ritual, so I will become the ritual. He is treating his words, his actual prayer, with the same weight and solemnity as the priests treating the sacrifice.
Visualizing his prayer rising like that smoke.
Exactly.
That's a really powerful reframing. Because I think most of us treat prayer, or really any kind of spiritual connection, like a fire extinguisher.
Oh, 100%.
You grab it when the kitchen is already on fire, you break the glass in case of emergency. But the evening sacrifice implies a schedule.
It implies a habit.
Right.
It's about rhythm. Because if you only try to find your center when the crisis hits, you're already too late. The evening sacrifice happened every single day, whether there was a war or peace, whether it was raining or sunny.
The consistency is the point.
Right. The insight from the notes here is that consistency builds the infrastructure for resilience. You have to build the sanctuary inside your heart so you have it when you're outside in the chaos.
So if I'm tracking with this, the incense isn't just a nice aesthetic smell. It represents something that is carefully prepared, lit, and rises continuously. It's the opposite of a panic reflex.
Exactly. It's a steady state of being, and because he takes the time to establish this rhythm first, it actually calms him down enough to ask for the right things in the rest of the prayer.
Okay, so that's the setup. He establishes this rhythm, and then we get to verse 3. And honestly, I think this verse needs to be tattooed on the inside of everyone's eyelids.
I know exactly where you're going.
Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips.
The Hebrew imagery here is literally about guarding a city gate.
So it's a bouncer for your mouth.
Oh. Huh. Essentially, yes. A security detail for your words.
But here's my question, and I want to push back on this just a little bit. This seems a bit, I don't know, repressive. Is he just saying, shut up and don't say anything?
I get why you'd ask that.
Because sometimes you really do need to speak up. Sometimes silence is absolutely the wrong move.
That's a totally fair point, but I don't think he's advocating for blanket silence at all costs. Notice the phrasing he uses. He doesn't say, I will keep my mouth shut.
He says, set a watch, O Lord.
Right. He's asking for a third party. It's actually a profound admission of failure. David knows that in the heat of the moment, he cannot trust his own judgment.
He knows his emotions are faster than his logic.
Exactly. He's acknowledging his own weakness.
That's a really important distinction. It's not just about knuckling down with willpower. It's about explicitly asking for a filter.
Correct. In our modern context, we constantly talk about hot takes. There's this immense pressure to have an opinion on everything and to share it immediately.
Oh, everywhere. Social media, meetings.
The source material refers to this as practicing thoughtful communication. The ancient wisdom here is simple. Not every thought deserves a microphone.
Wow. Not every thought deserves a microphone.
Right. The guard at the door checks the ID of the thought. Is this true? Is this helpful? Is this actually necessary right now? And if it's not, the door stays shut.
That would prevent so much cleanup later. I mean, think about how many apologies we've all had to make because our mental bouncer was on a coffee break.
Or because we decided to bypass security entirely because we felt justified in our anger.
Too many times to count.
Yeah.
And usually when we bypass security, it's because we feel we have an absolute right to be heard right in that moment.
And David is surrendering that right. He's effectively saying, God, you decide when the gate opens.
That requires a massive amount of trust.
It really does. It's a huge shift in the relationship dynamic.
But the text also argues that the mouth is just the exit ramp.
Yeah.
If you have to constantly guard the mouth, you've got a pressure buildup happening somewhere else.
You have to go deeper.
Right. If the city gate is constantly under attack, you have to look at what's happening inside the city itself. And verse 4 seems to address the source code of all this.
It does. Verse 4 says, Incline not my heart to any evil thing, to practice wicked works with men that work iniquity. And let me not eat of their dainties.
Okay, dainties. I have to ask.
I figured you would.
I just picture little tea cakes on a silver platter. Are we literally talking about pastries here?
It's a great word, isn't it? Dainties. It refers to delicacies, rich, luxurious food. But in this context, it's a powerful metaphor for the perks of a wicked lifestyle.
The perks. So in modern terms, like the company car.
There's a corner off.
VIP access,
good.
exactly. It's the seduction of success that comes from cutting corners.
Wow.
The source makes a profound point here. Corruption rarely ever starts with a sudden desire to be evil. Nobody wakes up and says, you know what, I want to be a villain today.
Right, nobody thinks they're the bad guy. It always starts with a desire for the fruit of evil. You see someone who gossips getting the promotion. You see the person who lies getting the lucrative deal.
They are eating the dainties.
They're eating the dainties.
And you sit there and think, well, I want those dainties. I'm tired of eating bread and water while they feast. Maybe I can just cut a little corner just this once to get them.
Precisely. And that's why David prays, incline not my heart. That word incline means to lean or to tip.
So he's saying, don't let me even lean in that direction.
Yeah, because if you get a taste for the dainties, if you get addicted to the benefits of a toxic environment, you will inevitably become toxic yourself.
That's honestly terrifying because it's saying that behavior follows appetite. If you're hungry for status at any cost, your ethics are already compromised before you've even done anything wrong.
Your heart is already tipping.
You're already inclined.
That's the real nugget here. Monitor your desires, not just your actions. If you find yourself jealous of people acting unethically because they seem to be winning, you are already in the danger zone.
Okay, so we're guarding the mouth, which is the external gate. We're checking the heart, which is the internal motivation. This sounds like a lot of exhausting self-monitoring.
And it's a lot of work.
But then, verse 5 throws a massive curveball. And I have to be completely honest with you. When I first read this part, I recoiled a bit.
Verse 5 is definitely the plot twist of the psalm.
It says, "Let the righteous smite me, it shall be a kindness, and let him reprove me, it shall be an excellent oil which shall not break my head."
Right.
He wants to get hit. He wants to get smote.
It sounds incredibly masochistic to our modern ears, doesn't it? Let them smite me. But you have to look closely at who is doing the smiting.
The righteous.
Yes. He's not saying, let my enemies beat me up. He's talking about accountability. He's talking about receiving correction from people who actually have integrity.
But he calls it excellent oil.
Ah.
Now, I'm assuming he doesn't mean motor oil. What is the cultural significance there? Why would getting hit be anything like getting oiled?
So in the ancient Near East, oil was highly medicinal. It was used to treat and heal wounds. Okay.
But beyond that, it was also a sign of profound hospitality and honor. To pour oil on a guest's head was to refresh them, to welcome them into your home.
Interesting.
So David is taking something that naturally feels like an attack, reproof, criticism, correction, and he's deliberately reframing it as a healing balm.
That is so incredibly hard to do in real life. When someone corrects me, even if I know they're right, maybe especially if I know they're right, it doesn't feel like healing oil.
It feels like a slap.
It feels like a total rejection.
That's your ego reacting. That's
Yeah.
the part of us that desperately wants the dainties of looking perfect all the time.
Right.
But the deep insight from our deep dive here is that growth very often arrives disguised as discomfort.
Wow. Growth disguises discomfort.
If you only ever surround yourself with people who praise you, people who just feed you dainties all day, you will completely stagnate. You actually need the smite of the righteous to break your bad patterns.
It's kind of like a surgery. It hurts in the moment, but it ultimately fixes you. Or like painful physical therapy. Exactly. The text explicitly says, "This oil shall not break my head." It won't destroy you. It might bruise your ego for a minute, but it ultimately saves your character. It keeps your head in the game.
So the practical application for us is basically to audit our inner circle.
Hmm.
Do you have anyone in your life who loves you enough to actually smite you?
And the follow-up question, do you actually let them?
Yeah.
Do you have the humility to thank them when they do it? That's the real test of trust. Do you say thank you for the oil, or do you immediately strike back?
Oof. Okay, moving on before I feel way too convicted about my own reaction to feedback.
Fair enough.
We get to the final section, verses 6 through 10. And the scene shifts pretty dramatically again.
It does.
We've been very internal up to this point, focusing on the mouth, the heart, the ego. But now we zoom out to the actual environment David is living in. And it is bleak.
It's a literal war zone. He talks about judges being overthrown in stony places. He talks about bones being scattered at the grave's mouth.
Like wood chips. As when one cutteth and cleaveth wood upon the earth. That is such a violent, visceral image. It's not just having a bad day at the office.
No, it reminds us that this isn't just a theoretical philosophy class for him. David is in acute, actual danger. He says he is surrounded by gins and snares and nets.
Those are all hunting terms, right?
Exactly. People are actively trying to trap him like an animal.
And this is where I think the psalm offers its absolute most strategic advice. Because think about it. When you are walking through a literal minefield or a jungle filled with traps, your instinct is to look down.
Of course.
You look right at the traps. You obsess over the office politics, the rumors, the threats. You study the enemy's every move.
Right. You become entirely reactive. You start playing their game. You start thinking, how do I set a better trap for them before they can spring theirs on me?
But David does the exact opposite of that. Look at verse 8. But mine eyes are unto thee, O God, the Lord. In thee is my trust. Leave not my soul destitute.
This right here is the climax of the entire prayer.
It is.
Imagine you're walking across a tightrope. If you look down at the dizzying drop below you, you lose your balance and you fall. You absolutely have to look at the anchor point on the other side.
So keeping your eyes on God isn't just some nice religious platitude to put on a bumper sticker. It's an active survival strategy.
It is. It's what the notes call maintaining integrity in hostile environments. Look, you cannot control the nets. You cannot control the workers of iniquity.
Right.
If you obsess over them, you will eventually trip. Or worse, you'll start setting your own traps just to retaliate, and then you've lost yourself.
You literally become the thing you are fighting.
Exactly. By keeping his eyes fixed on a much higher standard on a god, David effectively just steps right over the traps. He's saying, I'm not playing that game. I'm playing a completely different game.
He's trusting God to handle the external navigation while he handles his own internal integrity.
Yes.
And that leads perfectly to the ending in verse 10, which I absolutely love. Let the wicked fall into their own nets, whilst thou withal escape. It's such perfect poetic justice.
It's the law of natural consequences. If you build your entire lifestyle based on setting traps, lies, manipulation, betrayal, eventually you're going to step in one of them yourself.
You just forget where you dug the hole.
Exactly. David isn't saying, God, let me push them in. He's
Yeah.
just saying, let gravity do its work.
Let them fall into their own nets. He trusts that the system of wickedness is inherently self-destructive. He doesn't have to intervene or get his hands dirty. He just has to walk right past it.
While he escapes, that's the ultimate goal, to get to the other side with your soul still fully intact.
So when we pull all this together, we really have a comprehensive system for resilience.
Yeah.
It's clearly not just a random prayer thrown up in a momentary panic.
No, it's a brilliant progression. Think about the flow we just walked through together.
Okay, let's recap it.
First, you have rhythm. You have to establish the habit of connection before the crisis hits, just like the evening sacrifice. You have to be spiritually prepared. Second is restraint. You absolutely need a guard on the door of your lips because you cannot trust your own raw reactions in the heat of the moment.
A bouncer for the mouth.
Exactly. Third is motives. You have to guard your heart against the dainties, the seductive perks of the wrong lifestyle.
Check the source code.
Check the source code. Fourth is correction. You must actively invite the smite of the righteous to keep you honest and help you actually grow.
The excellent oil.
And finally, focus. You keep your eyes fixed on the destination, on God, rather than obsessing over the traps or the enemies around you.
It's incredible how entirely modern that framework feels.
Yeah.
I mean, you could literally take that progression into a corporate board meeting or a tense family therapy session tomorrow, and it would completely work.
It works so well because it deals with foundational human nature. The technology around us changes constantly. We have social media and instant messaging instead of ancient town gates. But the human heart hasn't changed a bit in 3,000 years.
Not at all.
We still desperately want to react instantly. We still crave the dainties. We still absolutely hate correction. And we still get deeply distracted by the traps people set for us.
And we still need help with all of it. I think that's the main thread running through this entire text. David never once says, I've got this handled.
Never.
He says, Lord, I cry unto thee, set a watch, incline not my heart. It's entirely a partnership.
That's the key to strengthening that relationship. The exact same God who saved him from Goliath is the God he completely trusts to save him from himself.
Wow.
And arguably that internal enemy, our own massive ego, our unguarded mouth, our selfish desires, is a much, much harder fight.
It's the challenge of walking through the fire without coming out smelling like smoke.
That's exactly the mission. And this deep dive really shows us that trusting God isn't a passive thing. It's an intensely active discipline of carefully choosing where you look and who you listen to.
Well, we always like to leave you with something concrete to do. We've unpacked the ancient theory, we've looked at the history, but the ball is entirely in your court now.
We want to ask you a specific question based on this text, and it's not going to be an easy one to answer.
It requires a bit of that bravery David was so famous for.
It really does.
How will you apply this information in your life?
Specifically, I'd challenge you to look at verse 5 again. Is there a righteous person in your life right now? Maybe a mentor, a partner, a close friend who you need to explicitly authorize to smite you? Do you need to go to them today and say, hey, I give you full permission to call me out when you see I'm being defensive or arrogant?
That is such a brave move. It's literally asking for the oil.
It is, but it might just save your head in the long run. Or, on the flip side, maybe you just need to look at your daily rhythm.
The evening sacrifice.
Do you have an evening sacrifice? Do you have a dedicated time to get centered, or are you just running through life living off emergency flares?
Whatever it is you choose to focus on, the end goal is exactly the same. Internal discipline to survive the external chaos. Thanks for diving deep with us on Psalm 141 today. It's always so surprising to me how much practical punch these ancient texts still pack when you really open them up.
It's always a privilege to walk through them.
Keep your eyes fixed on the right things, watch out for the nets out there, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.